Data slate day is here. Well, not really. Not exactly a data slate, mostly a QA update. Simple shifts, simple changes, clarification, some QA that changes things in my rules overview vid, so there's that. And Games Workshop decided that the format of one document was a little too simple. Now I get to go from team to team, checking shifts and changes. Thankfully, there is a page at the back that goes over everything that changed. But probably the biggest thing is the expansion to solo play with a new mission and NPO. For all you solo fans. So a fair bit to go over to get you all up to date. But before we do, if you're new to the channel and like tabletop games, strategy, the hobby, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Send a prayer to the algorithm gods with a type of thumb. And if you want, we have a Discord linked in the description below. Join up if you're interested. With that out of the way, let's get into it. The closest thing to the data slates of old this time around is the core rules update. And again, a lot of this is focused on QA. Some shifts in text, not much. Along the way though, we will highlight the biggest of small changes that occurred. From the core, some adjustments to 2 kill zones, Vulcus and Beta Decima. Vulcus simply makes it clear that the fire step terrain that sits in the stronghold is also part of the condensed stronghold rules. So the slight vantage doesn't really help. Beta Decima opens up much of the deployable equipment to be placed by removing any restrictions involving access points. Many equipment options have this restriction, and that would greatly limit them in this map as all gantries are accessible. That's like 90% of the terrain. Beyond errata comes QA. Question 1 tries to shed some light on when one-off damage negation abilities come into play during a shoot action. Simple clarification is that you, the player with the ability, can choose which of the damage dice that makes it through your defense receives the potential reduction. Fairly simple, but always good to clear up, even some minor confusions. The guard action queue is mostly about special forms of shoot that could allow guard to occur, like most elites Astartes rule. Most Astartes can shoot twice in an activation with bolters. This seems to clarify that if you were to, let's say, shoot once with a bolt gun and then go into guard, the interrupt would have to be the bolt gun profile. At least that's my takeaway from the whole relevant weapon part of the statement. The third question is about markers placed by operatives that are removed. So like traps, explosives, area debuffs. Those don't get removed when the operative is killed. Now there are some markers placed that will go away on death, but those are explicitly said in the unit's abilities. So pay attention to this information. For the Season 1 approved ops, question 1 is about whether or not a single operative can gain more than 1 marker for the confirmed kill TAC op. The answer is yes. A single unit standing in control range of 2 tokens with no one nearby to control them at the end of the round will have the option to snag both. This mission allows you to choose the tokens you pick up though. So if it's better to keep one and to instead pick up one in a more dangerous area, you still have this option. The power surge question brings up quite a good point in my opinion. The game has some strategic gambit abilities that come from missions or gameplay modes. This sort of sets a precedent. The player who is to choose which objective is surged cannot pass until this ploy is used. Now, this doesn't seem to force you to use this ploy first, so I imagine you can still hold the surge until you see your opponent maybe make some big repositioning plays, so long as you cushion the use of this function with other ploys that aren't pass. Maybe not though, keep an eye out. The equipment update also adjusts some odd bits, like with the razor wire. This actually changes my opinion of this piece. 2 clarifications. It is further restricted by not being set up near access points or accessible terrain, but also that obstructing rule only comes when a unit passes over it. Moving near this piece doesn't seem to negatively affect movement. As well, the distance is only adjusted by an additional inch, so technically 3 inches to climb before passing over. And they are clear that this occurs if a model starts the maneuver within an inch of the terrain. So if there is a different function that can be used to trigger the leap outside of an inch, this effect won't occur. Good for narrow corridors, but not so much the area of speed drain I believed it to be. The mines are now restricted from access points and accessible terrain, although remember, the beta decima change does still get around this. Light barricades have also gained the access point and accessible restriction, but also clarification that the tiny little baby feet that keep it from falling over are insignificant and exposed, so no weird cover from many angles. The heavy barricade and the portable barricade both gained the access and accessible restriction, and the portable had some clarification added. This action is unique and can't be used in tandem with certain team abilities that enhance movement by removing the operative and having them set back up. Mandrakes, most forms of the new fly ability. From the team changes, we have the Vespid. The new super conceal rule the drone has received a little update, and you're going to see this across a lot of teams in this change. The new super conceal rule the drone has got a little bit of an update in its wording, and across all teams that have this rule, you're going to see that this update persists. The rule overrides Seek as well now, but also allows the magic 2-inch range from still working against this, so an operative within 2 can still just shoot without needing to worry about unit order. The Swarm Guard had its flamer clarified a little with the Saturate and Torrent 0 rules, specifically as to what the Torrent 0 rule means when using its Torch Zone abilities. Nothing major there, you simply just can't pick nearby targets, it's just anything in that area specifically. Also, don't forget that Torrent 0 will still gain benefits from certain close quarters rules that usually gives this weapon an extra lethal 5. There's going to be one other instance of this across these teams. Neutron Charge now works from simple moves or fly, a little more capability from this core team function. The same thing is added to Airborne Predators for the balanced rule. The Aceli ploy gained almost a full shift for clarification on how it works, gaining the vantage benefits, being considered 3 inches taller, but communion range not being affected by this. Just a boatload of blue text to make sure people understand how everything works. The Tempestus received one adjustment to their Maintain Momentum ploy. Just some simple terminology clarification. The term against for the shooting or fighting action and the ready enemy target. The Hyrotech had their Scuttler rules updated to fall in line with the new Super Conceal standard we already talked about, and the Chronomancer Time Splinter ability had its measurement rule updated to ensure that placing the unit back down only needs a horizontal measurement. Chaos Cults had a typo fixed for the Blessed Blade's base size, which, if memory serves, was a similar issue I had when building them. The instructions explicitly said the wrong base size. It was a little obnoxious. Hunter Clade with the Super Conceal info update. Same thing for the Brood Brothers Psychic Familiar small rule, but the Icon Ward also had its Brood Mind Devotion rule shifted to focus on 1 AP actions for the free action, and that the chosen action can't be fight or explosives. Mind Control was removed, which is fine, as this ability is 2 AP anyway. The Commandos Grot got the Super Conceal update, but also the Burnaboy gained Torrent 0 for its Deluge ability, with the clarification that this does mean it's single target for all intents and purposes, but as we stated, in missions where torrents gain bonuses, or if a unit has defensives against it, those will still trigger. An interesting idea going forward. The Elicidian Voidmaster had the enemy control range restriction removed from its uncompromising fire action, but it is restricted if the unit already shot and will prevent shooting after. This allows for 2 shoot actions, which are already restricted usually by enemy control range, so this is just a basic wording shift. The Disciplinarian and Merciless rules had their wording updated to ensure that the Ceaseless rule applied is used instead of whatever the triggering rule is. That way you don't have both for whatever reason. The Blades of Cain striking Scorpion tech had its Super Conceal fixed, and a QA addition on top, allowing units using the Slicing Hurricane that can shoot twice to do so while repositioning. Nice. Warp Coven Zangor operatives had their auto pistol set to range 8. Simple. And some clarification for their Psychic Cabal firefight ploy. Sorcerers do not gain the boons of Tzeentch from other sorcerers when using this. Felgor Ravagers had their Shaman's ability get the Super Conceal update. As well, a little QA. Dice that are forcibly re-rolled or replaced by enemy actions are not able to be re-rolled, but the rest of the dice can when using Violent Temperament. Mandrakes, one of my new mains. Be Gentle Games Workshop. Shadow Passage added that the unit using this ability must be within Shadow when performing the action. Nothing really lost there from how I play. Super Conceal updated for the Shadow Glyph, which is great, and QA focus on sequence. We've talked about this in my rules overview vid, so stick with me, it's a little much, but if an enemy is considered incapacitated by the Night Fiend, and as a result, that enemy inflicts damage to the Night Fiend, maybe with an ability or a ploy, and the Night Fiend's Ooblix, which is a damage reducing ability, is triggered and negates that damage before the enemy is removed, the Fiend's ability to regenerate the Ooblix doesn't trigger to recover the charge, because that would have occurred when the enemy was incapacitated, which has already just triggered that damage in the first place. So that moment is gone. Something that to many might seem pretty basic, but it could easily confuse some players, so it's good to see this here. The Corpseman is now on the Blooded team selection list. That's nice. The Jaegers had their minefield rule changed to gain the accessible terrain limit, and their in-position ploy received the Super Conceal update. Void Dancers, Super Conceal update on that elusive target ploy. Same with the Breachers machine rule. But the Breachers also received fix of sorts, kind of a nerf. The team is back down to 10 operatives, so yay, that's how many units I have, but also boo, that doesn't really feel that strong at that amount for many. The Inquisitorial agents had their tome rule updated for their interrogator operative. Specifically the wording update where it says friendly operatives with this rule. Just a little wording clarification, which has pretty much been most of this update. The Tome Skull also received the Super Conceal update. The Pistolier operative had its special shoot option updated to also involve the you can't shoot before or after with a standard action update. As well, they did receive a single question, specifically clarifying that if you take the Exaction Squad operatives as your requisition unit, you can't use their Ruthless Efficiency ability if the Inquisitorial agents are involved. The Exaction Squad rule explicitly states it needs one of its own units to be in melee with an enemy to allow another Exaction Squad unit to then fire on that enemy. So no getting melt-a-gunned while in melee, which is excellent. The Gellerpox Glitchling had its Super Conceal update, and the Cursemite gained the group activation rule that other vermin enjoyed up to this point, which might have just been a rules oversight. The Exaction Squad Leash Master gained a whole weapon to its options with the Shot Pistol, a good middle ground between the close 6-inch range and the full field attack. Slightly better hit, slightly better damage, all at 8 inches. And they gained a whole faction ability, Repress. This ability allows unit weapons that have this rule to strike first when retaliating, as well as blocking 2 attacks per block. I think this was on the specific units that could do this before, I can't remember. I haven't made it to them yet for my overview outlines. But this is huge for the Subductors, as well as the Shield and Baton Leader, if they didn't already have something like it. The Corsair Starstorm Duelist Pistol Barrage was updated to ensure that it can't be used in an activation with a regular shoot attack, which is just along the lines of those simple double shoot clarifications. Lastly, the Scouts had their faction rule Booby Trap updated with the accessible terrain limitation, and the Covert Position Ploy gained the Super Conceal wording update. So, like I said, most of these shifts are about wording. Some of the biggest ones involved the Breachers being reduced to their former team size, as well as the slightly more pervasive Torrent Zero we're seeing, which might seep its way into other teams in the future, maybe. But, most interestingly from this update, is the introduction of a new NPO type alongside a mini NPO campaign. PvE, the Deadly Sniper Mission Pack. 3 curated missions in the solo and co-op side of Kill Team that involves the Vulcus terrain for the standard missions. Remember, you can use this information and sort of develop your own concepts if you want. Missions-wise, this setup doesn't allow NPOs to take any equipment, which is a shift from the standard joint ops. NPO behavior is just about the same. The big thing is this new Sniper NPO, a single model that exists outside of the normal activation sequence. It is placed on vantage as marked by the mission and rains fire down on enemies when its allies activate if it is not reloading. The attack is pretty basic for sniper rifle fire, and the unit itself simply sits with its 12 wounds and a conceal order, doling out pain. Specifically, if it is considered reloaded and can see an enemy, it interrupts its own ally's activation to perform one shoot action. Upon completion, a D6 is rolled, and that amount of operatives have to go before it can fire again. The ready step of each round triggers this reload state as well. This doesn't seem to override its allies' activation. They will simply have to go later, I believe. Vision-wise, this unit ignores obscuring, and the line that is normally drawn from the head of the model can also be drawn from parts of its little sniper nest vantage that it's on. A bit wordy, but once you get the rhythm of firing and reloading down, you're good. Mission 1 from this pack will have your team working against the sniper while rushing up mid to pick up and flee with an operative off your table edge. The sniper is supported by a team that is reinforced if half the NPOs are incapacitated. Loss occurs if the sniper's team is within 2 inches of the rescue marker in the strat phase, and then at the end of the turning point if that persists and there are no allies within 6 inches. NPOs win. As well, the player's team is dead, NPOs also win. Basic. Mission 2 involves the player team attempting to flee with 50% of their units over the left half of the NPO territory edge. The sniper team can still reinforce and must be spread out fairly evenly between 4 zones that are marked on the mission map. Narratively, this can be played in sequence after the first game, and any allied units that were downed will have to set up using a special reserve rule. Some nice flavor. The third mission involves taking the center stronghold and controlling it for the win. The sniper team can reinforce from one of the 2 edges they have, but once the allied team feels it has the APL to control the stronghold in the middle, they can declare the game over. At the end of any turning point, they lose if all units are dead, or if when they declare the end, the sniper's team has control. All 3 of these missions make for a fun narrative, and secretly, this is Games Workshop's way of getting new players used to the idea of snipers and that whole not being able to return fire thing. I see so many posts on the Vox talking about sniper imbalance, and this is a great way to give people a non-competitive learning tool to prepare themselves when going against the long-ranged horrors. And to those braving Sniper Alley, a strategy you can employ is having your toughest unit exist as a target to force the sniper to fire at it, because this pushes the sniper's ally activations back. This could open your team up for some counteract actions later in the turn. Mission action, movement, shooting, anything to irk out an advantage. Using this durable operative in conceal on light cover to get the benefit of the bonus dice retention could give your units time. I'm actually looking forward to trying this system myself, and maybe you are too. Let us know in the comments below how it went or what you're planning on. You can even join our community Discord to give us the deets. And with the rest of the changes, did anything stand out? Personally, it's good to see G-Dubs trying to get the wording just right to improve the competitive community. As always, likes for the like god, subscribes for the subscribe throne. I am Kimmerix, and I'll see you in the next one.